Hello and welcome to another episode of Belongs to the Shadows, episode number 12 of the podcast. I'm your creepy host, Jaime Bennett, and as always, listener viewer discretion is strongly advised, and I'm going to give credit where credit is due, of course, like I always do. I'll put it in the description below, and disclaimer here, not sponsored by anyone, especially not anybody that I'm going to be talking about on the episode. But if you would like to sponsor Belongs to the Shadows, that would be awesome. That would really help my channel out. Please hit the like and subscribe. Please, 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 please. It really helps me out and I really appreciate it. Share away. That's also helpful. I try to share other people's videos. I try to give shout outs on here. And, we got to help each other out. Definitely got to help each other out. I don't have very many subscribers, but the subscribers that I have, I appreciate every single one of you. So thank you so much. Yeah, I'm going to be talking about freak shows today, the haunted history of freak shows, because like I said, not sponsored by anyone, but American Horror Story is one of my favorite TV series, and Freak Show is one of my favorite seasons. I liked Freak Show and I like Coven a lot. Those are my favorite two seasons, and then, of course, the very first season of American Horror Story was pretty good. It was pretty good. Can't complain. It was really good. I'm also going to give a disclaimer because I mispronounce things all the time and I probably give you all a laugh when I do that. So, I mean no disrespect. It's like once that record button gets hit, I'm like a deer in the headlights, and things that I can normally pronounce, I can't pronounce for whatever reason. Oh, my tongue gets the best of me. Anyhow, here we go. So American Horror Story Freak Show. And, you can look this up on the good old Google. Google is reliable for me. That's how I find a lot of my information. But I absolutely loved the Freak Show season. I adore Jessica Lange and the whole cast, Sarah Paulson and Kathy Bates, and just I adore the whole cast. I absolutely adore the whole cast, and they did a really good job, and I just absolutely loved it. So here's the overview. The American Horror Story Freak Show cast features several actors who portrayed characters inspired by real-life individuals, like I was saying, or based on real-life stories from the world of freak shows. Notable cast members include Jessica Lange as Elsa Mars, Sarah Paulson as the conjoined twins Bet and Dot Tatler, Kathy Bates as Ethel Darling, and Michael Chiklis as Del Toledo. The character Twisty the Clown, played by John Carroll Lynch, was inspired by the serial killer John Wayne Gacy. We'll make that another episode because, that will take a whole other episode and a whole other podcast to be talking about John Wayne Gacy. But I did kind of, dropped a pin in the bucket with mentioning it, mentioning that person, and we will talk about John Wayne Gacy more, of course, because it's going to take a longer episode. So, Elsa Mars, while not a direct portrayal of a specific person, Elsa Mars is inspired by the glamorous Marlene Dietrich and the world of show business and exploitation in the era of freak shows. Yep. And so Bet and Dot Tatler, who is played by Sarah Paulson, the conjoined twins were inspired by the real-life Hilton sisters, Violet and Daisy, who were also conjoined twins who performed in sideshows. So somewhere else on here in my research, they said that they were inspired by some other twins, but I will look into that for sure. So Ethel Darlin, who is played by Kathy Bates, is the bearded woman, and she was inspired by Annie Jones, a real-life performer known as the Esmeralda of Bearded Ladies. Del Toledo, Michael Chiklis, is the strongman in the TV series and was inspired by the real-life strongman and performer Eugene Strongman Sando. Jimmy Darling, who was played by Evan Peters, who happens to be one of my favorite actors, by the way, and one of my favorite cast members. Shh. It's a secret between me and you. Jimmy Darling, the Lobster Boy, is inspired by Fred Wilson, also known as Lobster Boy, who was born with ectrodactyly. Hopefully I pronounced that right. Here we go with mispronouncing things. Ma Petite Jyoti MG. Hopefully I said that right. Ma Petite is played by Jyoti MG, the world's smallest living woman. She has done interviews, and I just think that I absolutely adore her. I adore her because I love her personality, and she was one of my favorite characters in American Horror Story. I absolutely loved her portrayal, and I just absolutely adore her personality. She's an incredible human being, and I just absolutely adore her. Twisty the Clown, who was played by John Carroll Lynch, was inspired by real-life serial killer John Wayne Gacy, who was also a clown entertainer. We will talk about him more because I think that that's going to take a whole other goodness, I can't even talk today. A whole other podcast. There we go. A whole other podcast. And then you have Stanley, played by Dennis O'Hare. While not directly based on a historical figure, Stanley represents the darker side of the entertainment industry and the exploitation of performers. So let's get into some of these main characters here and the real life stories of these main characters. Let's see. It says different names. Like when I did my research, it says different names for who they're actually based upon. So let me go into my other research. So Elsa Mars, a character in American Horror Story Freak Show, is inspired by Marlene Dietrich, a German entertainer and actress, as well as the broader culture of 1930s Germany. Ryan Murphy, the show's creator, he has created an amazing show. American Horror Story is amazing. Bravo. I love American Horror Story, as I'm sure quite a few other people love American Horror Story. Ryan Murphy drew inspiration from Diedrich's persona and style when developing Elsa Mars, a German expatriate who owns and operates a freak show. Jessica Lange, who played Elsa, also researched the era and the carnival world to embody the character. So here's a more detailed breakdown. If I can even talk today, goodness gravy. Anyhow, while not a direct portrayal of a specific person, Elsa Mars is inspired by the glamorous Marlene Dietrich and the world show business and exploitation in the era of freak shows. So, yeah. But let's go into the more detailed breakdown. So, Marlene Dietrich connection. Elsa Mars' character, particularly her style, fashion, and stage presence, are heavily influenced by Marlene Dietrich. This is evident in her androgynous look, her use of top hats, as well as tales, and her overall performance style. There's even a storyline where she refers to Marlena, a character who is implied to be Diedrich, as someone who stole opportunities from her, according to a Reddit thread. 1930s German culture. Elsa's background as a German expatriate with a past in prostitution and her connection to the Weimar Republic era are also significant. The period in Germany was known for its vibrant cultural scene, including music, art, and more open attitude towards sexuality, which is reflected in Elsa's character. The carnival world. Jessica Lange's interest in the carnival world, combined with Murphy's desire to create a Diedrich-esque character, led to the creation of Elsa Mars and her freak show. Not a direct biopic, while inspired by Diedrich in the era, Elsa Mars is a fictional character. She is a composite of various influences with her own unique story and motivations within context of the freak show season. So I absolutely adored Freak Show. I can't say that enough. It was quite different from the first season of American Horror Story. There's some seasons I'm not as passionate about as like the other seasons, like the first season. And I think the first season was called Horror House. Um, I'm pretty sure that's what it was called. It's been so long since I've seen it, but I liked the first season. I liked Coven a lot. I liked the post-apocalyptic season. Um, and I liked Freak Show. Those are the seasons I liked. Hotel was okay. It had its really interesting plots. But I'm not here to critique American Horror Story. Anyhow, let's move on. I digress. So we're going to move on with the characters Bette and Dot Tatler from American Horror Story Freak Show. They were inspired by the real-life conjoined twins, most notably Abigail and Brittany Hensel. So they had said that they were inspired by other twins. I believe they said, let's see, Violet and Daisy. So I will look that up here in a moment. But let's go into this. While Chang and Ing Bunker, known as the Siamese twins, also share similarities with the Tatlers, their connection was less complex than the twins portrayed in the show. The Hensel twins, who are still living, are conjoined at the torso and share some internal organs, making them a more direct inspiration for the characters. Abigail and Brittany Hensel, these modern conjoined twins, are the most direct inspiration for Bette and Dot. They are dicephalic parapegous twins. Whew, that's a mouthful. Meaning they are conjoined at the torso and have separate heads. They share a body but have separate nervous systems, allowing them to control different sides of their bodies. Chang and Ing Bunkner, while also conjoined twins, Chang and Ing were connected by a band of tissue and some shared liver, not as extensive as the Hansel twins or the Tatler sisters. They are famous for coining the term Siamese twins after their fame in the 1800s. They were able to live relatively normal lives, even marrying and having children. Bette and Dot Tatler, these characters played by Sarah Paulson in American Horror Story Freak Show, are conjoined twins who are part of the Traveling Freak Show. The show explores their individual personalities, desires, and the challenges they face being conjoined. The show also highlights the technical challenges of portraying conjoined twins, including using prosthetic heads and detailed special effects. That's interesting. It's amazing what Hollywood can do. But anyhow, let's go back to Violet and Daisy, who were conjoined twins. I'm interested in seeing what they have to say about that. You're going to hear me hear me typing here. Conjoined twins. So apparently there is a film about them, and this comes from Wikipedia. Daisy and Violet Hilton were English-born entertainers who were conjoined twins. They were exhibited in Europe as children and toured the United States sideshow vaudeville and American burlesque circuits in the 1920s and the 1930s. They were best known for their film appearances in Freaks and the biographic Chained for Life in 1951. The twins were born at 18 Riley Road, Brighton, England. Their mother was Kate Skinner, an unmarried barmaid. The sisters were born joined by their hips and buttocks. They shared blood circulation and were fused at the pelvis, but shared no major organs. They were variously in media called or referred to as the Siamese twins. The Hilton sisters and the Brighton twins, or the Brighton conjoined twins, and in the United States as the San Antonio twins. The sisters performed alongside Bob Hope and Charlie Chaplin. Oh, that's so interesting. After years of being managed professionally by their legal guardians in the early 1930s or the advice of Harry Houdini. They were legally emancipated. And it tells you about their early life and everything, but I was so interested in learning about them. Like, I think I'd heard about them before, but it's always interesting to look it up and find out more about it. Okay, so let's move on to Ethel Darling, who is played by. Hang on. Let me get to the right page. Anyhow, here we go. Yes, Ethel Darling is a character from American Horror Story Freak Show, portrayed by Kathy Bates. She is a bearded woman who works as Elsa Marr's Cabinet of Curiosities. At Elsa Marr's Cabinet of Curiosities. While the character is fictional, her portrayal is inspired by real-life historical figures of bearded women who are part of freak shows. So here's the character background. Ethel Darling is a key character in American Horror Story Freak Show, working as the bearded lady and acting as Elsa Marr's right-hand woman and the guardian of the law. Within the Freak Show, she is the mother of Jimmy Darling, played by Evan Peters, and ex-wife of Del Toledo. So the real-life inspiration comes from Annie Jones, a famous bearded woman from the late 19th century. She was known as the infant Esau. Esau? Anyhow, as a baby and later became a prominent figure in Barnum's attractions. She also campaigned against the use of the word freak. Madame Josephine Clofula, a Swiss woman who toured America in 19th century, also played as a curiosity due to her beard. Madame de Vrebe, Kathy Bates, reportedly researched this historical figure for her portrayal of Ethel Darling. Goodness gracious, I can't get my words out today. Kathy Bates' performance. Bates' portrayal of Ethel Darling earned her nominations for a Golden Globe and a Primetime Emmy. Her character's Baltimore accent was noted as a key element in her performance. She did an amazing job. If you have not seen American Horror Story at all, I suggest you watch at least this season of American Horror Story, like the Freak Show season, because you will not be disappointed at all. If you're listening to my podcast, it's telling me that you are interested in things like this. So you would not be disappointed in watching American Horror Story Freak Show or Kevin. Like, they're both really, really good. Really good. I might talk about American Horror Story Coven eventually on Belongs to the Shadows. Anyhow, so Del Toledo is the strong man in the show. And He's a fictional character, of course, from American Horror Story Freak Show, portrayed by actor Michael Chiklis. He is a strongman and barker in the Freak Show circus. While not based on a specific historical figure, his character is inspired by the strongman archetype common in sideshows and circuses of the past. Here's a more detailed breakdown. The fictional character Del Toledo was created for the American Horror Story series Freak Show. Strongman archetype. The character draws inspiration from the strongman performers who were a staple of sideshows and circuses. Michael Chiklis, the role of Del Toledo, is played by the actor Michael Chiklis. Del Toledo is a prominent character in the fourth season of the show Freak Show. While his character is based on a common sideshow archetype, Del Toledo himself is not a real historical figure. So I'm sure that you have seen, strongman portrayed on TV shows, as one of the more common things. And even, I think, I could be getting this totally wrong, but I'm going to mention another show, the Chilling Adventures of Sabrina, the Teenage Witch. They had a freak show. They had a couple of episodes, I think, where it included the freak show or the circus. And I think they had a strongman type on there too. They have the old wooden paintings or the banners that they put up of the strongman and the striped jumpsuit or whatever. Yeah. I'm sure if you've ever seen those, you know exactly what I'm talking about. I'm just not explaining it very well. My bad. So all right. So Jimmy Darling, who is played by Evan Peters, is based on a real person. So Grady Stiles Jr., also known as Lobster Boy. Stiles was a sideshow performer with ectrodactyly, the same condition that affects Jimmy's hands. While the show portrays a somewhat sympathetic character, Stiles' real-life story was much darker, including alcoholism, abuse, and even a murder. Oh, wow. Goodness gracious. So we are going to look that up. So I'm going to look up Grady Stiles Jr. because I am interested in hearing the dark story behind what happened. All right, so this comes from allthatisinteresting.com, Lobster Boy, and it was published by Abby Norman and edited by John Kurowski, and it was published November 26th of 2016, and it's been updated February 20th of 2024. I will put the link below so you all can read. But discover how Lobster Boy Grady Stiles got his claws and how he eventually began using them to commit murder. This is all in quotations, of course. For more than a century, a peculiar physical condition known as ectrodactyly has afflicted the Stiles family. The rare congenital deformity makes hands look like lobster claws, as the middle fingers are either missing or seemingly refused to the thumb and pinky. While many have let me try this again. Many may have viewed this condition as a handicap. For the Stiles family, it's spelled opportunity. As far back as the 1800s, as the family grew and produced more children with unusual hands and feet, they developed a circus, the Lobster family, which became a carnival staple throughout the early 20th century. But one son, Grady Stiles Jr., would give the Stiles family a different morbid repu- reputation when he became a serial abuser and murderer. Grady Stiles Jr. becomes Lobster Boy. Grady Stiles Jr., who would become known as Lobster Boy, was born in Pittsburgh in the year of 1937. At that point, his father was already part of the freak show circuit, adding his kids with ectrodactyly to the acts. Brady Stiles Jr. case was pretty severe. So, in addition to his hands, he also had it in his feet and therefore could not walk. That's terrible. For most of his life, he primarily used a wheelchair, but also learned to use his upper body to pull himself across the floor with impressive strength. As Grady grew up, he became alarmingly strong, something that would benefit his homicidal rage later in life. Throughout his childhood, Stiles and his family toured with the carnival circuit, spending the off-season in Gibsonton, Florida, as many carnies did. The family did well. They made anywhere between 50,000 to 80,000 per season. That's a lot of money. Like that's a lot of money even back then, like especially back then. And unlike a lot of freak show acts, didn't have to subject themselves to anything more than curious stares. Stiles grew up in this carnival world, and so wasn't surprising that as a young man he fell in love with another carnival worker, a young woman named Maria. Some sources say Mary Teresa, who had run away to join the circus as a teenager. She wasn't part of the act, just a staff member, but she fell in love with Stiles, and the two married. Together they had two children, and like his father before him, introduced the children with ectrodactyly to the family business. As the children grew up, particularly Stiles' daughter Kathy, who did not have ectrodactyly, was therefore somewhat the apple of her father's eye. The Stiles family legacy began to take a rather dark turn. Stiles drank and combined with his overpowering upper body strength. Let me get back to that. Sorry, lost my place. He became abusive toward his wife and children. That's awful. At one point, he allegedly used his claw-like hand to rip his wife's to rip his wife's IUD from within her body during a fight, and when we use his hands to choke her, something they were seemingly designed to do well. Their worst was yet to come, however, when Grady Stiles' teenage daughter, Donna, fell in love with a young man that he didn't approve of. Lobster Boy demonstrated his fatal strength. No one's exactly sure what happened. Either Stiles went to see his daughter's fiancé at his home or invited the young man over under the guise of giving his blessing for the wedding planned for the next day. However, it began on the eve of the wedding. Stiles picked up his shotgun and murdered his daughter's fiancé in cold blood. He soon went to trial, having admitted to his actions with no remorse whatsoever, but pointed out that he couldn't possibly be imprisoned. No jail could handle his disability, and to confine him to prison would be cruel and unusual punishment. He also by this time had acquired liver cirrhosis from drinking and had emphysema from years of cigarette smoking. The court realized that they really had no counter argument, as it was true that the prisons were not well equipped to deal with many disabilities. Certainly not Stiles' incredibly rare one. So they let him off with 15 years probation and he returned home. Uh-oh. Lobster Boy had by this time divorced his first wife, remarried another woman, and had two more children. He proceeded to subject them to his drunken rampages, and eventually his second wife divorced him. For reasons that no one, either in the Stiles family or outside of it, has been able to understand, his first wife agreed to remarry him in 1989. Oh, good Lord. That's crazy. But Maria Theresa and her now grown children were not without their limits. Grady Stiles had evaded prison and gained a sense of being above the law, and thus the beatings became more severe. His wife had finally reached her breaking point. A few years after she remarried Stiles, she paid her 17-year-old neighbor, Chris Wyant, $1,500 to kill him. Maria Theresa's son from another marriage, Glenn, helped her conceive the idea and carry out the plan. One night, Wyant took a 30.32 Colt automatic, and he had a friend purchase for him into Styles' trailer. And oh goodness, that's darn pop-up ad. Styles' trailer and shot him dead at point blank range. Why does a pop-up ad have to happen when it's getting juicy? Anyways, not one of them denied that they had intended to kill Grady Stiles. During the trial, blah, blah, rewind. Goodness, why can I not talk today? His wife spoke at length of his abusive history. My husband was going to kill my family, she told the court. I believe that from the bottom of my heart. At least one of their children, Kathy, testified against him as well. The jury convicted Wyant of second-degree murder and sentenced him to 27 years in prison. They charged his wife and her son, Glenn, with first-degree murder. She received a sentence of 12 years in prison. She unsuccessfully appealed her conviction and began to serve her sentence in February of 1997. She had tried to get Glenn to take a plea bargain, but he refused. The court then sentenced him to life in prison. Just as a significant portion of his living family was being tried for murder, Grady Stiles' body was put to rest, or unrest, as it were. Lobster Boy was so disliked, not just in his family, but within the community, that the funeral home could not find anyone willing to be pallbearers. That is crazy. Intrigued by this looks at Grady Stiles Jr. popularity known as Lobster Boy. For more strange physical conditions, check out this list of unusual disorders. Then hear the sad tales of 6 iconic Ringling Brother freak show performers. Finally see some of the most incredible Andre the Giant photo that you won't believe aren't photoshopped. So this is within this one. I'm not going to go into that, of course. Like, you all can research that on your own. But I just thought that it would be interesting to dive deeper into these characters and to talk more about American Horror Story Freak Show. I don't know why I was trying to think of a topic to talk about this week on Belongs to the Shadows, and you all seem to really gravitate toward cryptids. You really like when I talk about cryptids, and you really like when I talk about, like, Marie Laveau. That episode has gotten quite a few views, more views than I normally get. Like I said last time, I don't ever expect to make money off of doing these YouTube videos. I just do them because I'm passionate about this. It's fun. I really enjoy doing these, even when I'm stuttering and mispronouncing things. And probably making a fool out of myself. For some reason today, I cannot pronounce anything. See what I'm talking about? I can't talk right today for whatever reason. It has been a very, very tiring past week, and we have more challenges ahead. Like I mentioned last time, not to get serious or anything, but you as my fans, I feel like I should tell you there's going to be times that I'm not going to be doing these episodes because I'm dealing with health issues right now. My husband has not officially been diagnosed with early onset Parkinson's, but he did test positive for Parkinson's on the DAT scan, and he's supposed to be seeing a neurologist in the upcoming weeks. So hopefully he can get his diagnosis and they can get him set on the right path and he can get the assistance that he needs. Because a lot of times getting the diagnosis is the very, very, very important first step, um, along with all the preliminary testing. It's really sad because my husband, he just turned 47 at the beginning of this year, and he's not very old. Um, I myself am 45. I'll go ahead and admit it, how old I am. I'm 45. A lot of people, if you saw what I look like, you wouldn't believe it because a lot of people don't believe that I'm 45. Uh, but I think that, worrying about my husband and worrying about my parents and their health issues has aged me. I'm starting to get gray hairs now, people. Um, it's okay. That's what hair dye is for. Um, anyhow, I try to have like a calm, presence. I try to have a good sense of humor. My husband has a really good sense of humor about all this. But it is very stressful. It is very, very stressful situation not knowing, a whole lot about Parkinson's other than, what you hear in the news, what you hear on TV, like in interviews with Michael J. Fox. Michael J. Fox has given us hope. We really, really appreciate Michael J. Fox. He's given us a lot of hope. And um, the only thing that like really, really stresses me out about this is the not knowing what my husband's future holds. We just happen to live day by day and maneuver things the best we can. He has been given medication that seems to be helping him with his symptoms. It's not a cure. There is no cure for Parkinson's, but there's hope. There is hope. And that's the thing that we need to keep in mind as there is hope. And, Parkinson's looks different for everybody. Um, you know, this person may have these side effects while this other person might have different side effects. It looks different for every person, and the medication acts differently with every person. So my husband's he's doing okay. He's doing pretty well. He is sore, of course, on that side of his body where he has the tremors. And he can't do a lot of the things he used to be able to do, but we're maneuvering life. We're making it. We're making it. And he's one of my biggest supporters of this show. He helps me come up with ideas for this show, and I bounce ideas off of him, and I appreciate him, and I'm so glad that he has a good sense of humor about this. Sorry to get deep on you all, and sorry to bring up this sort of thing, but you all need to know that there will be times that I won't have an episode of Belongs to the Shadows because we are having to go to doctor's appointments. I actually have a dental appointment on Monday when this will be airing, so I'm pre-recording this. Shh, shh, secrets out. I'm pre-recording this, which you all know. Anyhow, I'm not sure what I'm going to be talking about on the next episode. I thought about talking about some other cryptids, some of the lesser known cryptids. Because you all have heard about, Bigfoot and the Loch Ness Monster and Mothman. I talked about Mothman on one of my other episodes. I kind of want to do a deep dive into the cryptids that you all don't really hear about or that I've not heard about. Like, I looked it up the other day because I was curious, and there was a whole list of cryptids not that I had not heard about. Like, there are cryptids that are similar to the Loch Ness Monster, similar to Bigfoot, and similar to some of the other cryptids. So, I just I just think it's interesting, and you all seem to enjoy hearing me talk about cryptids. If you have any ideas for any topics that I can research and do for Belongs to the Shadows, please drop a comment. I look at my comments and I try to respond to my comments. I don't get very many comments on my videos, let's be honest. Um, I'm just happy if one person listens to these videos. So it amazes me that I have 16 subscribers. That's awesome. I appreciate every single one of them. Um, I'm your biggest fan. Like, thank you so much. I appreciate it. So I hope that you've enjoyed this episode of Belongs to the Shadows. I'm not going to end it quite yet because I do want to talk more about American Horror Story Freak Show because I did find it to be completely interesting. I thought that the way that they did it was amazing. I absolutely loved it. The music in that series, oh my gosh. I absolutely loved the music in that series. There is one particular character that I did not mention, and I do need to mention. I don't remember his name. So let me type um it up. I forget. Edward Mordrake. Okay. So, in American Horror Story Freak Show, Edward Mordrake is a character with a two-faced appearance, possessing a second face on the back of his head. The character is not a real historical figure, but is based on an urban legend. He is portrayed by Wes Bitley. So the backstory, Mordrake was supposedly a nobleman in 19th century England who was born with a second face on the back of his head. The legend, the second face was said to whisper evil things, driving him to madness. So the freak show connection. The legend says he escaped an asylum and joined a freak show before eventually killing himself. Halloween curse. There's a superstition that if a freak show performs on Halloween, Edward Mordrake's spirit will appear and claim a soul. So Mordrake appears as a ghostly figure who visits the troupe, seeking to take one of them with him. So I will link a video down below. The reason why I bring that up is because in American Horror Story Freak Show, one of my favorite songs that Jessica Lange covers in the show, she does a cover of, is in the land of monsters. I I think that's what the song title is called. Let me look. In the land of monsters. I was an angel. Gods and Monsters. Okay, so the song is Gods and Monsters, and it is originally sung by Elena Del Rey, but Jessica Lange does a cover of it, and she does an amazing job. And I watched that part of American Freak Show, I don't know how many times, because I absolutely loved it, and I loved that episode in particular. That particular episode, I absolutely loved it. Because for those of you who do not know, Halloween 24/7 for me. My bedroom is decorated in half Halloween stuff, half like creepy stuff, I guess, and then half like fantasy stuff. I'm an artist. I create the Venus flytraps, like, the monster Venus flytraps. I also do create other works of art. I'm a huge fan of the poison apple concept from Snow White. So like my artwork's all over the place. I do different forms of artwork. I do 3D paintings. I do sculptural paintings. I do all sorts of things. But that is my favorite part in American Horror Story is the Edward Mondrake scene. I love that. I watched it, I don't know how many times. I thought it was completely awesome. But anyhow, I digress. I hope y'all have enjoyed this episode of Belongs to the Shadows. I usually have a new episode every Monday at 8 p.m. Eastern on YouTube, right here on Star Raven Studios. I also have a Star Raven Studios broadcasting group on Facebook. For those of you who do not know, Star Raven Studios is named after my familiar, I guess you could call him, Mordecai, a raven that came to us several years ago, and he follows me around. He actually follows me from our house to town. He used to follow me to work a lot, and he would be outside my work calling for me on the back dock, and it got to the point that I had to tell my coworkers, yeah, that's my raven. He follows me, and he's got a partner named Morgan, and so now we have a whole little group of ravens that talk to us and follow me around. They follow me around specifically. I guess Mordecai thought that my dad needed a raven because now my dad has a raven that follows him to work and follows him around, and my dad's decided to name his raven Peabody, so that's pretty cool. My husband has a raven that used to hang out with him at work, and then it has come and joined Mordecai and my other ravens, and his raven's named Barnabas. Yes, Barnabas from Dark Shadows. What's it to you? No. Anyhow, I just think that that's cool little backstory there. So Star Raven Studios was named for Mordecai, and I will put the link down below so that you all can join Star Raven Studios on Facebook if you have the desire to. Sometimes I will share my Belongs to the Shadows episodes on there. I'll share my artwork on there, but it's mostly musicians because I have a degree in recording technologies, broadcast communications, a media degree, and music is one of my passions. I love music. I used to be a jazz guitarist. I used to play in the jazz ensemble. I would play jazz fusion. I'm really into heavy metal music, but a lot of talented people share their music on Star Raven Studios. So if you're really into music and you want to check some of them out, yeah, join Star Raven Studios. Like, it's a fun place to be. There's not very many group members. I think there's like 200 and I want to say 259 maybe in there, but I appreciate every single one of them. My husband, one of my best friends, and myself are the administrators in there. So yeah, join. We would really appreciate it. But anyhow, until next time, you all stay creepy.